I was lying on the operating table when a message from my mom popped up. Your brother's loan is due. I didn't reply. It's not much, just 100,000. You're the elder sister, you should help him out. Also, I'm not feeling well. Take me to the hospital tomorrow. Why aren't you responding? Finally, she ran out of patience. Don't play dead. You owe us this. I could imagine how angry she was. But Mom, I wasn't pretending. I really was dead, as I was covered with a white sheet. I heard two nurses whispering, only 28 years old, such a pity. Yeah, what was she thinking to jump off a building? Her family must be devastated. They wheeled my body out of the operating room, and my soul, it stayed right there. I saw other souls passing by. One reminded me, Miss, you better hurry, or you'll miss the chance for a good rebirth. I didn't move. The police contacted my mom. She must be on her way soon. I drifted to the hospital entrance, just like when I was a child. Watching her walk ahead with my brother in her arms, hoping she would look back at me, I waited and waited. She arrived before sunset, led by the police. She came to the morgue and stopped in front of my body. My death must have been too gruesome. When the sheet was lifted, she collapsed to the ground, her face ashen. Seconds later, she burst into inconsolable wailing. I had never heard such crying before. It was like the mourning of an engine, her whole body shaking, using every bit of her strength. The police tried to help her up. The doctor urged her to be strong. She cried with her back to me, unseen. At least the crying, that was real sorrow. I don't know how much time passed, but only Mom was left in the morgue. The departed soul appeared again. Miss, come with me now. I gave my mom one last look, nodded, and turned to leave. Her phone suddenly rang. She pressed the answer button. Bailey, your sister really is dead. What's the rush? Her money will be yours sooner or later. Do you think they'll compensate for the place she jumped from? The departed soul fell silent. After a while, he asked me, are you sad? I shook my head and smiled. I'm used to it. Growing up, the phrase I heard most often was, you are the elder sister. It was like a curse, binding me ever since my brother Bailey was born. I had to take care of him, to tolerate him unconditionally, to understand why our parents poured more care and love into him, because I was the elder sister. It seemed an easy excuse to accept. All my life, I tried to play the role of the perfect elder sister, until I learned a term called gender preference. I still remember, when I was 7 years old, my little brother tore up a greeting card a friend had given me, and in a reflex, I pushed him. He burst into tears and ran to get our mom. You're the older sister. How could you hit your brother? It's just a letter. What's the big deal? He's lying. I didn't hit him, I retorted, looking up at her. You always favor boys over girls. She was momentarily taken aback. The next second, her hand slapped heavily across my face. Stop talking nonsense. I'm a woman myself. How could I favor boys? That night, I stood by the door all night long. When Dad came home, he just asked, was there not enough food made? Riley didn't eat any. Mom replied indifferently. Standing outside, I watched the warm and happy scene of my family of 3. This situation persisted until I went to middle school. I left for a boarding school. Though we were not poor, my monthly allowance was pitifully small. Growing rapidly at that time, I often wore ill-fitting pants, my ankles exposed in the chilly fall. Feeling utterly inferior amid my classmates' mocking, I began to focus on my studies. From the back of the class, I moved up to the top 20, then to the top 10. Before the winter break, I ranked first in my grade. I received a scholarship of 2,000, and my teacher called my dad with the good news. When I went home for the holidays, I saw kindness on my father's face for the first time. He bought me pants that fit with the scholarship money, then said, I'll keep the rest of the money for you. I didn't dare to refuse, perhaps influenced by Dad. Mom's attitude towards me softened a lot. She even asked me what I wanted to eat. When I mentioned a T-bone steak, my brother burst into tears out of spite. I don't like it. Mom is biased. She hurried to console him. The drama ended with her making a seafood soup that my brother liked. As for my preferences, no one cared. Later, every time I went home, Mom would ask me to tutor my brother. Bailey didn't like studying, and he was uncooperative during every session. Once, unable to take it anymore, I slammed his paper, scored 50, on the table. So stupid, you think I want to teach you? He spat in my face and crying, ran to find Mom. She asked you to tutor him, not to yell at him. Is this how a sister acts? Wait till your dad comes home to deal with you, I countered. Scoring 50 is his fault. Dad won't do anything to me, Mom sneered coldly, the mockery and indifference magnified on her face. You think Dad really likes you? His kindness is just because you give him face. I stared at her, speechless. Years later, I still couldn't understand how a mother could harbor such resentment towards her own child to utter such cruel words. That night, I packed my bags and returned to school early. In the empty campus, I ran into my chemistry teacher, a divorced middle-aged man in his 40s. Riley, why didn't you go home? I didn't answer. He smiled and asked, would you like to come to my office? I made hot pot. I hesitated for a moment. Okay. After leaving the hospital, Mom discussed my funeral arrangements with Bailey. Just deal with it simply. Her death was disgraceful. No need to make a big fuss, Bailey said. All right. Mom paused briefly. Let's not rush. I'll go to the place where she jumped first. She bought flowers and knelt at that spot, sobbing uncontrollably. Security tried to remove her several times but were stopped by bystanders. Have you no empathy? Can't a mother mourn the loss of her child? Eventually, the police summoned Mom. Before the police could speak, Mom quickly asked, was the place where my daughter jumped poorly managed? Could there be compensation? Quiet. The young officer frowned. Do you know why we called you here? Why? Riley was sexually assaulted in middle school. Were you aware of that? Mom was taken aback. What are you talking about? The officer pushed evidence across the table, my diary, and the perpetrator's confession. We found these at Riley's place. Following the leads, we've arrested the suspect. As her mother, did you really notice nothing? Mom fell silent. That night, I ran out of the office, disheveled, fleeing the school like a madwoman. When I got home, Mom mocked me. So independent now, huh? Run away over a few words, and here you are back home. I locked myself in the bathroom, washing my body over and over. She banged on the door outside. Riley, is water free? What's wrong with you? Come out. But it was as if I couldn't hear her anymore. Only the sticky touch lingered on my body, impossible to shake off. After a moment of silence, Mom responded. She was always odd, never telling me anything. After her father died in a car accident, she became even more withdrawn. The officer quickly picked up on a keyword. Because of her, yes. She wanted to go to South Lake Park that day, so we went. And then the accident happened on the road. Her father died instantly. Look at my leg. I still have scars from that time. No, that's not right. I shook my head desperately in midair. It wasn't my fault. I had just started college then, and Bailey was fussing about going to Disney, which was too far. My parents didn't want to go. I mentioned casually, there's also an amusement park near South Lake Park. Yes, South Lake Park will do. Mom quickly agreed. Bailey, your sister is right. We'll go to South Lake Park. I thought it was just a regular outing. We all did, until I crawled out of the twisted wreckage covered in blood, desperately pulling out my unconscious mom and sobbing brother. Dad was trapped in the driver's seat, and I couldn't pull him out. When the police and ambulance arrived later, Dad was already gone. In the hospital, when Mom woke up and learned of Dad's death, she threw everything she could grab at me. People in profound grief don't really wail loudly. She clutched her chest, gasping for air, tears streaming down as she screamed, asking me why it wasn't me who died. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have gone to South Lake at all. How could your dad have died? She interrogated me repeatedly, pinning all the blame on me, even though she was the one who had initially agreed to the proposal. I ended up battered and bleeding from her attacks. If the nurses hadn't intervened, she might have killed me right then and there. From that moment, the phrase, "you are the older sister," morphed into, "you owe us this," haunting me like a terrible nightmare. It was a never-ending torment, with no light at the end of the tunnel. But, your husband had been drinking that day, the young police officer stated calmly. My mother was stunned. How could that be? The autopsy results showed it. Perhaps the people around at the time didn't tell you to spare your feelings, and there's more. A death-like silence fell upon the room. Before Riley committed suicide, she was kidnapped and tortured. Based on the evidence we've gathered so far, the main suspect in this case is your son, Bailey. What are you talking about? My mother stood up abruptly. Is this how you police slander good people? The young officer furrowed his brow. We wouldn't make claims without evidence. He flipped my diary to the last entry. Riley detailed this story here. She snatched the diary from him fiercely. She was delusional, always imagining things that never happened. How can you trust the diary of someone mentally ill? In the next second, she raised her hand forcefully. The officer stood to intervene but was too slow. The diary was torn in half, its pages fluttering to the ground. She continued to scream, "She's insane. She did it on purpose. My son is innocent." A piece of paper floated to my feet. The torn page bore the marks of dried water stains. That day, I had written just one sentence: "I miss you." After my father passed away, I took a year off from school. Humans are strange creatures. Amidst my mother's repeated accusations that it's all your fault, guilt began to accumulate deep inside me. I worked 4 jobs a day, sending all the money back home. It seemed that only by constantly filling my time, by tirelessly earning money, could I catch a breath amid the accusations. Life was bleak until I met Jack. He was the son of the owner of the restaurant where I worked. At that time, he was a senior in high school and would sometimes sit in the restaurant after school. He had a naturally cheerful disposition and enjoyed chatting with the waitresses and the women there, often making them laugh heartily, but I never joined in. For over a month, I didn't speak a word to him. Then one day, while I was washing dishes in the kitchen, I suddenly heard someone ask, "Did I hear right that you're in college?" I turned around. He was leaning over, smiling at me. "Yes." "Why aren't you at school?" I took a leave. That was the end of the conversation. With such a cold response, I figured he wouldn't talk to me again, but that evening, after changing clothes and leaving, he was waiting at the door, smiling. "I'll walk you home." I hesitated. "In exchange, you can tell me what college is like," he said, seeing that I still didn't move. He walked ahead, smiling as he looked back. "Let's go." That night marked the first snowfall of the winter. Tiny snowflakes were illuminated by the dim streetlights. Jack was walking beside me, chattering away with numerous questions. I answered whatever he asked. Sometimes it was a few sentences, sometimes just a few words, but he didn't seem to mind. He was like a curious child, or a son brimming with energy. This happened a few more times, even though my house wasn't far, and it wasn't even on his way. Some tender feelings started to silently take root with my silent permission. I used to hate the walk home, the old streetlights, the dim stairwells, the stuffy security door. Each element narrated the suffocating stories of my life. At some point, that changed. I began looking forward to that walk. Suddenly, life opened a window for me, allowing me glimpses of clear skies. Over time, rumors about us started circulating in the store. The first to confront me was Jack's mother. She had hired me at the store and always looked out for me. So when she hinted that I should not distract Jack from his college entrance exams, I offered my resignation. At that time, relatives from my father's side came to persuade my mom. "Kate has passed away, but the child still needs to continue her education." Eventually, with financial support from these relatives, I went back to college. My time with Jack felt like a dream, and now, the dream was over. At university, I worked part-time and pursued 2 degrees, filling every day to the brim. By chance, I began writing novels online. After receiving my first payment, I bought a dress for 200 yuan. Looking in the mirror, seeing myself in the beautiful dress I never dared ask my parents for as a child, I suddenly cried. In college, my mom still asked me for money. I gave whenever I could. Human habits and subconscious are frightening, just like how my father's death was not my fault. Amidst the accusations and verbal abuse, I frequently dreamt of the day of the accident. With my blood-covered father standing before me, asking why I went to South Lake, why I didn't save him, I didn't know. I couldn't answer. Life continued as dark and chaotic as before, devoid of daylight, until one day, I received a strange text message. It was already summer, and everyone was preparing for their final exams. Whenever I heard news about the college entrance exams, would get distracted. That's when I received the message. He said, "Riley, the exams are over." The leaves rustled on their branches. The summer wind was hot and incessant, stirring my heartbeats for a moment. Another message came, "I'm coming to see you." That night, I saw Jack for the first time in months. He had grown taller and looked thinner. We sat in a restaurant just outside the school gates, talking about our separate lives. But most of the time, it was him talking and me listening. I wore the new dress I had bought, under the small shop's light. The young man looked at me with earnest and focused eyes. I awkwardly avoided his gaze, only to hear him say, "You look really beautiful today." After the summer vacation, Jack often asked me out. I occasionally accepted, but always made sure to avoid my mom and little brother. It wasn't until the new semester began that Jack and I ended up on the same train. His university was right next to mine. We dined together, watched movies, strolled around, and did all those ordinary things that somehow became wonderful just because we were together. For the first time, I felt that the future was filled with beauty and hope. That deep autumn, Jack confessed his feelings to me. My first instinct was to pull back. After much thought, I shared my past and my family issues with him. I said, "I've never been a happy child. I'm quirky, awkward, and insecure. I'm not as great as you think." The autumn breeze was cool. Suddenly, a warm embrace enveloped me. "It's okay," Jack's voice was a soothing hum. "From now on, you'll be the happiest kid." I can't quite remember what he said next. All I remember is the distant streetlights flickering, blurring in my teary vision before slowly going out. Being with Jack, I slowly found myself again. He taught me that it's okay to get angry, to cry when sad, and to laugh out loud when happy. I was finally not just someone's daughter or sister. I didn't have to atone for others' mistakes or feel guilty about past decisions. So, when my mom called again asking for money, I refused. It was the first time I had ever defied her since my dad's death. She was stunned. "Where did all the money go?" "I saved it, you ungrateful child. Your brother and I have no money at home, and you're saving yours." I didn't argue back. But no matter how much she cursed or harassed me over the phone afterward, I didn't give her any money. Eventually, she must have grown tired because she didn't contact me until the winter break. I thought I had finally escaped them and could live my own life. During the winter break, I didn't go home. I urged Jack to go, but he secretly stayed to be with me. That's when things took a turn. I don't know what my mother did, but she and Jack's mother suddenly appeared at my school. Jack and I were walking out of the cafeteria, hand in hand, when I saw them. Instinctively, I let go of his hand, but Jack held on even tighter. His mother stopped in front of him, glanced at me, and said, "Did you insist on studying here because of her?" Growing up, I became extremely sensitive to other people's looks, so with that one glance from his mother, I instantly understood my place. "Come home with me." She turned to Jack. Jack stood in front of me. "I'm grown up now." His mother paused. "If you don't come home today, then don't call me your mother anymore." I used to think she was a great businesswoman, but now I could see another side. It wasn't until that moment that I finally understood. It was just pity for me. I stepped out from behind Jack. "Go home," I said to him. He tried to pull me back, but I dodged and ran outside without looking back. Eventually, someone caught up to me. It wasn't Jack. It was my mom. In moments of extreme sorrow, it's easy to do things we never thought we'd do. For the first time, I lashed out at her. "Are you happy now? Satisfied? Why must you always ruin my life? Please, just leave me be. I won't spend another dime on you." Unexpectedly, she didn't react angrily. Instead, she paused and softened her tone. "Riley, I'm not here to ask for money. I came to stop Jack's mom. She saw the photo of you two on Jack's social media. I know she looks down on you, and I was afraid she might lose it and lash out at you." Her words, coming from her mouth, felt awkward yet somehow amusing. It was as if the person who had been harsh and cold to me before wasn't her. But people are really strange. As I stood there, tears streaming down my face, berating her, she stepped forward and took my hand. "Riley, come home with Mom." Suddenly, I found myself speechless. I returned home like a zombie. Throughout the winter break, my mom became quiet and gentle. She stopped accusing me of baseless things and showing obvious favoritism towards my brother. Even when Bailey deliberately made things difficult for me, she scolded him. For the first time, I heard her say, "Your sister just went through a breakup, don't bother her." Jack tried to contact me several times during this period, but I rejected him each time, saying, "It's not right. He deserved better and there was no need to cause strife with my family because of me." Before the semester started, I withdrew all the money from my bank account and left it on my mom's bedside. On the train to school, I received a call from her. "Riley, Mom doesn't need this money. I was foolish before. You, keep it." I replied indifferently, whether it was out of genuine concern or pretense. At least during that time, she offered me some warmth. In a way, after school started, I picked up writing again and resumed my novel writing. Perhaps as a form of escapism, I immersed myself completely, slowly gaining some recognition. With that came an increase in my earnings. I occasionally sent some money to my mom. She truly changed a lot, which made me start to consider her needs. With Dad not around, the entire burden fell on her shoulders. Despite our past issues, I felt it was only right to take on some of that burden. Maybe growing up involves forgetting some of the resentment, For a long time, Jack stopped contacting me. It was as if he had vanished from my world. Past interactions all turned into a dream, occasionally resurfacing in my midnight reveries. Life is full of disappointments. I needed to learn to accept that not all lovers can end up together. Just when I thought I was about to forget him, reality dealt me a harsh blow. One night in April, I received a phone call. The person on the other end was furious. "Riley, why must you cling to my son? What does he owe you?" It took me a moment to realize it was Jack's mother on the line. "Auntie, we've already broken up." "Nonsense, if you had broken up, why would he still be preparing a birthday gift for you? Do you know he got into a car accident on his way back to school trying to surprise you? If anything had happened to him, I would never forgive you." By the end of her tirade, her emotions had completely shattered, but I was still dazed. Echoing in my ears, "Accident, accident, it seems fate enjoys playing cruel jokes on me. It did years ago, and it does now." I don't know how I found my way to the hospital. In the hospital room, Jack's mother nearly attacked me, held back only by others. Jack lay quietly on the hospital bed, his head wrapped in bandages. The doctor said he had a brain injury that needed rest. He would occasionally regain consciousness, but most of the time he was comatose. I gently held his hand. It was cold, dry. I had so much I wanted to tell him, but as soon as I opened my mouth, tears streamed down uncontrollably. Jack's mother's yelling grew louder, but it seemed like I couldn't hear anything. The last thing I remember, I leaned close to his ear and said, "I'm sorry." From that day on, I suffered from sleepless nights. My roommates, aware of my situation, consoled me that it wasn't my fault, but they didn't know. With my father's death, I had consoled myself the same way. Now Jack, once again, dragged me into a deep nightmare. I started skipping classes, lying in bed all day, my physical functions slowly deteriorating, becoming skin and bones. Eventually, the school contacted my mother. I was admitted to the hospital. Severe depression. The teacher suggested I take a leave of absence. It didn't matter to me anymore. I went ahead and withdrew from school. My mother brought me back home, without saying a word throughout. I lay in bed for 7 days, and she cared for me for 7 days. On the 8th day, seeing the white hairs at the back of her head, I suddenly burst into tears. Growing up, I was never favored. I was raised amidst scolding and accusations, always wishing my mother would care for me, even just to look back at me. On the 9th day, I received a message from one of Jack's classmates. He had fully regained consciousness. I wept bitterly. From that day on, I took my medication on time, cooperated actively with my treatment, and resumed my creative work, regularly sending money to my mother. Her smiles towards me grew more frequent, and she boasted to everyone about my capabilities and filial piety. I think she might truly have started to care for me, to really acknowledge me as her daughter. This harmony lasted for a long time, until Bailey went to college. I've always known the money I gave to my mother, she spent most of her money on Bailey. She even skimped on buying clothes for herself just to satisfy Bailey's vanity by purchasing expensive shoes for him that cost thousands. I saw all of this, but I never said a word, because I knew it was a habit ingrained deep within her. To her, her son was everything, her world, her sky, her entire being. After saving enough money, I moved to a big city. In the years that followed, I completely lost contact with Jack. By focusing on my creative work, I was able to buy a house in the city and establish myself. I maintained my old habit of sending money to my mother regularly. That continued until Bailey graduated from college. After his graduation, I reduced the amount of money I sent. I thought my mother would ask about it, but to my surprise, the first to question it was Bailey. During a visit home for the new year, we had a huge argument. I was financially independent and living on my own. I didn't need to appease him anymore. "You've graduated. I'm not obligated to give you money," I said coldly to him. "Who asked you to give it to me?" he retorted, looking for excuses. "I told you to give it to Mom. That's your duty, isn't it?" I scoffed. "Do you think I don't know where the money I give Mom goes?" He choked up. "If you don't give it, think you'll be welcomed in this house again." I scoffed again. My scoff angered him, and he pushed me. For a moment, I felt like I was back in my childhood, despised and ostracized by him. Almost instinctively, I hit back. The sound of the slap stunned us both. "You dare hit me?" Anger distorted his features as he lunged at me, grabbed my hair, and slammed me to the ground. In that moment, I truly felt the difference in strength between grown men and women. I screamed and yelled as the punches and slaps he delivered grew heavier, until Mom burst through the door. Stop, stop, she struggled to pull Bailey away. The violence finally ceased. I slowly got up from the ground. My hair disheveled and my body marked with bruises, breathing heavily. I faced him. You think I would just endure it like I did when I was a kid? With that, I picked up my phone. What are you doing? Mom screamed, grabbing my hand, calling the police. You dare? I paused, stunned, realizing she had misspoken. She abruptly stopped. Riley, what Bailey did was wrong, but no matter what, he is still your brother. I'll make him apologize to you. Come on, Bailey, apologize to your sister right away. Bailey, with eyes red, said, in your dreams, can't you be sensible? Watching the two of them argue, I suddenly felt utterly ridiculous. I thought I had finally gained my mother's pity and charity. Reality has shown me that when it comes to making choices, she always favors my younger brother. I put down my phone. This is the last time. I looked at them. I will never forgive again. After that New Year, a long time passed before I saw them again. From time to time, I sent money to my mother so she could buy some things, even though I knew that a lot of it probably ended up in my brother's hands. Sometimes I couldn't understand my own actions, but in the end, I convinced myself that it was for my mother, who had taken care of me, to do something nice. Year by year, as my writing fees increased, I was able to satisfy more of my own desires. I traveled to see mountains and seas, walked through plateaus and deserts, to experience worlds I had never encountered before. I resolved to leave them behind. Life always has its marvelous encounters. In Los Angeles, I met Jack, who owned a hotel here. The moment he looked up at me, time seemed to stop. Everything felt like it returned to that snowy day years ago when he waited at the door, offering to take me home. But now, we had both become respectable, mature adults. I greeted him with a smile, and his gentle eyes held a complex expression as he smiled back. I stayed there for 10 days. When I was leaving, he helped me with the checkout. As I turned to go, he stopped me. Riley, why didn't you visit me when I had that car accident? I was stunned. I remembered my severe depression back then, wanting to visit him multiple times. But my mother stopped me. Jack's mother doesn't want to see you. Riley, let's not make things worse. I lowered my head. Your mother didn't want to see me. Jack suddenly stepped forward, placing his hands on my shoulders. No. That's not it. After I woke up, my mom said she wouldn't interfere anymore, but I couldn't reach you. I went to your house, and your mother told me you never wanted to see me again. I looked at him, stunned. Memories suddenly flooded back. The antidepressants made me drowsy all day, and my memory was poor, but I remembered one day. Lying in my bedroom, someone knocked on the door. My mother stood at the doorway, said something harsh, and then slammed the door. Who was it? I asked. Just a salesperson. That scene, years later, suddenly became clear. It was all connected. Back then, we were just separated by a wall. Now, years and misunderstandings had come between us. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't just erase everything. I thought for a long time. Finally, I smiled and said goodbye to Jack. I returned to my old home, which I hadn't visited in a long time, and had a big argument with my mother. I finally admitted that she had never truly loved me. She would compromise and change only because she needed a daughter who would obediently earn money and send it to her. In the middle of our argument, she suddenly collapsed. With resentment nowhere to go, I hurriedly called an ambulance. In the hospital, the doctor told me a lot. Don't let her get too emotional. Try to agree with her. Don't worry too much. And so on. I returned to the hospital room and sat in front of her. Suddenly, she burst into tears. Riley, Mom knows she has let you down, but she needs to ask you one last favor. Your brother has been gambling and has racked up debts. You're his older sister. Can you help him pay some of it off? It's as if I'm kneeling before you begging. As she spoke, she actually began to climb out of bed, intending to kneel. I quickly reached out to hold her, looking at her. Her hair white and her eyes tearful. I felt a mix of resentment and pain twisting inside me. I closed my eyes, trying hard to hold back the tears. Just this last time, I said, after all was said and done, I had helped Bailey pay off $400,000. This last time, I bypassed Mom and called him directly. I won't be helping you pay off your debts anymore. I told him, sis, I'm just short $100,000. Please help me one last time. It's not possible, sis, you're my own sister. Please, I hung up the phone. Even through the screen, I could imagine his furious reaction. From then on, I had nothing to do with him anymore, but I never imagined Bailey could be so cruel. One night, as I stepped out, I was drugged and lost consciousness. When I woke up, I found myself tied to a chair, facing several blurry-faced men. The coarse touch of their hands on my skin brought back a scene I never wanted to remember, one that abruptly invaded my mind. Back then, he had asked me, "Do you like your teacher?" "Now," they said, "you whore, we'll make sure you don't survive this." What does one think about in their most painful moments? Crying and screaming, I instinctively called out, "Mom." In that moment, I was stunned. A despair more painful than the physical torture engulfed me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even cry anymore. After endless torment, I passed out. When I woke up, they were gone. I walked out of that abandoned factory. The sun was shining brightly. I squinted subconsciously. It was so cold. I kept walking along the highway, not knowing how long I had walked, until it was dark again. Finally, I stopped in front of a police station. A policeman noticed me. "Miss, is there something wrong?" I stared at him blankly, suddenly feeling a prick of pain in my numb nerves. I opened my mouth, but couldn't speak. My senses returned to numbness, and I stepped back. "It's nothing." The illness seems to have relapsed. After writing my last diary entry, I sat by the window and watched a complete sunset. I could feel my life gradually fading away. In fact, I think I was once loved. When I was very young, my parents took me to the park. Dad bought a balloon, and Mom scolded him for wasting money, but gently tied my hair into two pretty pigtails, then looked at me and said, "Riley is so beautiful." Then one day, Mom held me. Suddenly, she asked, "Mommy has a baby in her belly. Does Riley think it's a little brother or a little sister?" I didn't understand at the time. I just answered from my heart, "A little brother. Riley wants a little brother." She hugged me tightly and laughed. Bailey was arrested. Mom nearly sold all her possessions, trying to get him out. She entrusted a lawyer to plead for family forgiveness. She agreed without hesitation. In front of others, she cried her heart out. "My daughter is already gone. I can't lose my son too." I floated in midair, watching this drama unfold. Those who have passed are already hurrying to be reborn. Before leaving, he urged me to hurry, otherwise, I might end up in a similar family in my next life. I shook my head. I've had enough of the human world. It's quite nice just drifting like this. While the case was halfway through, the incident suddenly blew up online. Someone was rallying support on the internet, and that person was Jack. After my death, he was the only one seeking revenge for me. He used public opinion to pressure the court proceedings, and despite my mother's forgiveness, Bailey was still heavily sentenced. After Bailey's sentencing, it seemed like Mom lost all hope for life. She read through all my diaries. Finally, she came to my grave, crying. She begged my spirit to forgive her brother, to forgive her. Looking at the aged woman before me, I felt both pity and ridicule. She cried as if her life depended on it, utterly devastated. At dusk, she looked up, as if she saw me. "Riley," I floated in front of her. I looked at her, scrutinizing every line on her skin. "I can never forgive him, nor you, never, for all eternity." She suddenly burst into loud sobs. "Riley, in this life, Mom has wronged you. Next life, let me be the daughter and you be the mother." "Okay, no need." My voice was calm. "I will never meet you again." She kept crying and saying something, but I had already vanished. I didn't want to see her anymore, not even for a moment. As night fell, she cried her way down the mountain but accidentally tumbled down the stairs. She lay there motionless, dead. I don't know, nor do I care. I turned and drifted away. I wanted to see other places. Before sunrise, I remember that day. The wind was strong on the rooftop. My legs dangled in midair as I looked up at the starry sky. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. A new message, only 5 words. "Let's get married." I stared at it for a long time. The next second, the phone slipped from my hand. "Sorry. I'm afraid it's not possible in this life. After tomorrow, forget me, goodbye." That's all about this story. Do you have any insights after watching the above story? Feel free to tell us in the comment sections below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe our channel. See you next time.